Hey everyone, thank you so much for coming back to my channel. And in today's video, I want to talk about how I retired myself at 35 years old. When I say I retired myself, there are a few things that I don't mean by that. So what I don't mean is that I work 0 hours a week, because I do indeed work. I don't mean that I'm out here doing extravagant vacations 3 to 5 times a year because I just have money like that. And I don't mean that I don't have to work because I'm living off of passive income, although I wish that was the case. By saying that I retired myself 2 years ago at 35, what I do mean is that I decided to leave a 40-hour salaried job. Sometimes it was more than that, because everybody knows your salary. You are paid for 40 hours, but you give a lot more of your time for free. I actually work, and what I do mean is that I actually work about 30 hours a week, sometimes a little bit more, but really a lot of times a little bit less than 30 hours a week. And what I do mean by I retired myself is that I have certain luxuries that were important and that matter to me, and is what made me decide to make a plan to get out of what I was doing. And those luxuries that matter to me is that, for example, I sleep in often. For example, I get to work out as a priority and then do the things that are professionally for me that make me money. I do things that allow me to say no to things that are stressful to me, because I don't need to opt in and do that. I call these things, all of the above that I just mentioned, cortisol decreasers, because cortisol is what keeps us stressed and gives us diseases. And I noticed that was happening, and I wanted to opt out. And so when I was realizing that my cortisol was constantly high and this was a hard life and I wanted a softer life, these are things that I determined would make me live a better quality of life, and in turn is what really mattered to me. That kind of leads me into explaining why I opted to do this. The first thing being that my society approved jobs was very stressful. It was in the healthcare field, and even before the panini hit, when the panini hit, I was so glad I was at the tail end of my plan, because you saw the worst in people and you saw like just the sad reality of healthcare in America. I also felt pretty soon after I graduated from school and was in my profession that I was duped. And that duping happens a lot to people. They sell that you go to school and you get your education and you get that high paying job and everything is peaches and cream. And it's like, I don't want any parts of this, the stuff that's involved in this job, because the next thing I want to say is I felt in that particular job that I was being made to do immoral things. And someone put in the comments, please, if you feel what I'm talking about, because a lot of these jobs and businesses, whether it's in healthcare or other things, it pushes the limit of morality. On top of that, I also felt that immoral things were being done to me that I just could not get down with, because I don't tolerate that in my personal life. And it was just a new experience for me to be able to be like, this is a sanctioned financial thing that I'm allowing to be done to me just because I'm trying to get paid. These things all led me to be like, no. And it was either going to be have a nervous breakdown or make a plan. I decided to go with making that plan. So I made the plan. And once I made the plan, it made that insufferable place a little bit more sufferable, because I knew it was going to be out there. As time would go by and coworkers talking about what's going to happen with the company and what they plan to do with the company, and my head was like, I don't care, because I'm not going to be here. And I did have a little bit of give back with them, but in my head I was like, I'm not going to be here. You don't know that, but I know that. And in discussing what I did, I feel like, I need to explain, because if there's someone in here like this is sounding like music to their ears, I want to give tangible things about like what I did to make it happen and be able to make my exit. And the first thing that I did was I got out of debt. The biggest debt that I had at the time was my student loans, and actually it was my first YouTube video almost 2 years ago, and I made it because I was able to get out of over $150,000 worth of student loan debt. And then I was also able to get out of my car loan a little bit earlier, and any like credit cards, even I don't keep high credit card balances. If it was a $500 balance, I got out of that, because debt is like, it drowns you, and I wanted to be free from that at least. The second thing that I did was I made sure and took care of having at least one secure roof over my head, or as secure as possible. When I made the plan, I wasn't a homeowner, but homeownership is important to me, as important as it can be, because I feel a little bit different. I think you should strive for it, but it's so unaffordable now. That's why I said at least one roof over your head if it's possible to do it. But I do know that you kind of got to get creative now. because I live in a high cost of living place. I was able to do it by the grace of God, but I am not naive to think that you can just do that now. But in searching for a home, when I got approved for a lot, I did not go even close to that, because I'm like, taking all that money, I'm gonna have to stay at these people's jobs. So I got something that was as basic as I could. Again, I still love it. Like, this place is really nice, but even then it's dated. So almost 10 years later, it's even more dated, but it has the basics, and you know, it's a safe and secure place. That's all that really mattered to me. So the third thing I did was, it sounds kind of like weird, but I made sure to stay in good standing at my job, because at this point I needed it. Like, I didn't want to have to look for another job. So I just made sure I stayed in good standing, because I could have just said, screw this place, burned it down, not given any crap about it, and either gotten fired or had to look for another job. I didn't want to. So I kind of just like stayed low, do what I need to do, because I needed to get from them certain things. I needed to get certain years out of the way, to make sure that I can execute the plan. The fourth thing that I did was, in the process of staying, you know, incognito and under my job and flying under the radar, I made sure personally to live way below my means, so that I could do the things that I was putting into place. And then the last thing, number 5 thing that I did was, I made sure that I was constantly learning and improving myself, both personally and professionally. Personally was possibly an example of like, okay, I don't want to quit my job. How am I going to afford health insurance? Because I believe in ensuring your asset, and the human that you are, that you're an asset, because you're the thing that makes money, at least if you don't come from money. And thankfully there's Obamacare, but I was willing to pay more and not let fear of paying $500 to $600 a month for health insurance a big thing, because I will find a way to have that money. Thankfully I don't play close to that, but who knows where it's going to go in the future. Doesn't mean if that ever goes away I'm going to go back to a job. I'm going to try my darndest not to. So I've been like educating myself on what I could do for that. And as far as professionally, it's like learning new skills, learning what I could do that's palatable for another job in case what I was doing wasn't working and what I'm doing now isn't working. I'm constantly looking for that, because I need to stay competitive somehow. All the job is a skill set, and I am constantly looking for different skill sets that I can explore to help me make money. Doing these 5 things that I aforementioned is what allowed me now to live a restful and softer life. And it's funny because I've been talking to my friend about it, and that's just something that we value now. And we are a fruit of the people who came before us, like our family members' labor, because they did not have that opportunity. Now, I will say that sometimes from people in my life, I feel like they think, not everybody, but some people feel like I may be being childish and for kind of like throwing in the table and opting out of society, what society should tell me to do to work. And it may be childish. There's a part of me that is kind of childish. However, so I'm not saying it's not a possibility, but I challenge people who tell me that to think that, but what do children have that adults have lost? And it's their imagination, and they're daring to dream. And if I'm childish means that I still have an imagination and daring to do something differently, that's something I'm okay with, you know. And there's nothing childish about being able to pay my bills, and I have been able to maintain that. I don't want to ever lose the ability to think of something greater and that may be out of the grain. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Yes, I believe you should be practical, but being practical can like kind of kill your spirit. I'm not ever going to be into that. As I wrap the video up, I will have to say that it's not all peaches and cream here. There are things that I have to deal with now that I wouldn't have to deal with before. And I would say it's like 80-20. Like right now, I've been able to keep 80% of my life, but I do just deal with a certain set of problems that I wouldn't have to. Like a couple examples are, my home is outdated. It's not as, that hotel experience that a lot of people aspire for. It's not one of those luxury apartments that I think that are really nice, but that is just not my reality. I will say it's in the 5-year plan though, because I have a plan for that too. But I deal with that. I don't have all the luxuries that I might have had because I was such a high earner, like jewelry for extension or fancy bags. But I will say I like this set of problems way more than the other set of problems, because I could have had all of that, but I wouldn't have peace. I'd be wondering if like I caused an injury to somebody as a healthcare professional. I don't have that anymore. My job, I always have help. I'm never just the only person there. And 80-20 rule applies to much more than relationships. I just think that's a life thing. You're gonna get 80% of you want if you are blessed, but you're never gonna get 100%. There's gonna be 20% that's missing. So I am aware of that, and I know that you know, that just comes with it. But I hope taking some time to explain like why I value the life that I made 2 years ago. Because somebody may be in a position, this is the end of the year now, and we're thinking about renewal and what's going to happen. If it's something you're thinking about, it is doable. And I just gave a realistic picture of what happens when you've done it and you've been doing it for a few years now. So yeah, let me know in the comments. Is there something that you're thinking about turning anew in the new year that you've been thinking about and this video has kind of made you think about it? Because I'd love to know what it is. I'm the biggest cheerleader. I'm a positive Polly, so I will be egging you on to at least make the plan, and also have you kind of taking yourself from a stressful position into a slower position, and if you are enjoying it or you're thinking about going back for whatever reason. Until then, I will see y'all next week. Talk to you later. As I